welcome back to another exciting adventure right here on Radio Wasteland. I'm your host, Chauncey Howard. This is my co-host, Kara Kittrick.
Hello.
Kara, you got a news article for us today?
So a kilometer-wide asteroid should pass within 1.2 million miles of our planet this coming week. No one expects it to hit Earth, but if it did, it would probably end civilization, since it's about a quarter of the size of the one that killed the dinosaurs.
Okay, so this comes up in the news a lot, and
yeah,
they use mile levels that are, it's just beyond my understanding. I mean, I don't, is that between us and the moon?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Is that, that's what I'm saying. I just don't know.
I'm actually not sure, which I guess sort of proves your point here.
Right. And, they're doing this a lot to us. And while I do think it's something we need to pay attention to, I'm wondering about the news reporting itself, like,
yeah,
how important is it that we know this part, or does it just get people pumped about science?
I think it's just good to remind people every now and then that the end is coming. You will get your reprieve, and eventually one of these things is going to hit us and finally snuff out civilization.
Totally. So. And as a reminder, you're small and worthless in the grand scheme.
Precisely. And the moon is 230,000 miles away. So no, it's significantly farther away than the moon.
Okay. But in an astronomical sense, that is pretty close. I assume.
Yes.
I assume it is because, they're not noting that on a regular basis. How often do they do this? I realize this isn't something but I want to say this gets reported like once every 6 months, twice a year, something like that.
Yeah, a couple times a year you hear about, hey, an asteroid that could kill us just whizzed by.
Right.
It's sort of like if you're just, I don't know, in a convenience store, like doing your thing, checking out, and someone's robbing the store and there's a gunfight happening as you're doing it and bullets are whizzing past you, but they're not really that close.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot closer. But maybe that's just,
I guess maybe it feels closer if you use that analogy.
Right. But to be fair, okay, so I am kind of crapping on this. So to be fair, I'm going to take the other side, which is going to crap on our society a bit. And that is...
Is that not what we do here?
One reason why this might be going on is because if we don't have a healthy amount of public fear, they don't get the funding to look for this stuff.
Right, yeah.
Where I would think, go ahead and look for it, write the check. I don't need to be involved in this unless I do. Mm-hmm. That's just not the case in our society, I guess.
Yeah, well, so they're actually, it mentioned in the same article that they're launching a mission in September to try to deflect a different asteroid, not this one, just to sort of see if it can be done.
If it can be done. Do you know how they're doing it? Are they doing it with an explosion or with gravitational pull?
I'm not sure. There's some part of the process involves landing things on it. So
I would assume that's an explosion.
But it's, I think it is they're placing explosives on targeted parts of the asteroid in hopes of altering its.
Right, because how would we get something up there to do? Because one way they've talked about doing it is like, here you got the object about to hit you. And over here, you have another object that you use its gravitational pull to change it.
Right.
But
yeah.
I always thought if you can move this heavy ass guy to move this heavy ass guy, why don't you just move the heavy ass guy to begin with and then you're done?
It's true. So, yeah. If you're dealing with an asteroid that's like several miles wide,
right, then
like we've never put anything even remotely that big into space. So
right.
Like that would be a lot.
It's totally off topic, but I've heard, I want to know, I can't remember what science fiction thing this was from. I want to say it was a book, and they had the finger of God. Have you ever heard of this?
I've heard of Lucifer's hammer.
Oh yeah, that was a good book. The finger of God, it was like this giant tungsten rod that basically they would over a planet, just fire it down.
Oh, I
And it
want
would,
to say that was like an Asimov thing or something
yeah,
like that. I know what you're talking about, like a gravity bomb, and it
right,
wasn't.
yeah,
It wasn't even an explosive. It was just a
right,
big spike that you drop from orbit, and it has kind of the same effect.
right, yeah, yeah. The wiping out the dinosaurs effect, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do you got next? And let me apologize. I am hecka stuffed up. I think I have allergies, but maybe I've been Omicron.
Yeah,
We'll
maybe
see.
you're dying. The Pentagon is launching a new office to investigate UFO sightings called, get ready for this, the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group, which is probably the third or fourth time I've reported on some new federal group being launched to look into UFOs since last year. From the Live Science article, quote, UFO debunker Mike West told NBC News that true UFO believers may have given Pentagon officials the publicity and political support they needed to do work that they wanted to do anyway, but not necessarily because military officials believe ET is trying to make contact. Quote, if you read the text of this legislation, it seems to reflect concerns of the extraterrestrial hypothesis believers. Now the military is sort of forced to jump through some slightly silly hoops while doing serious work.
Okay, so what was that acronym again? Did that spell something or
No, it
that,
spells
so this is an actual government group.
Yes.
The government tends to be a little more, I don't know, a little less wordy with their acronyms.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, they make it spell something and like the individual words don't make sense. But in this, I like that we've got airborne object identification. And it's like, okay, that's reasonable. And then management synchronization group, which is also reasonable, but together they're meaningless. Like,
yeah, airborne. Okay.
It's
this is
the
not making for
airborne
good radio, but read it again.
It's the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group.
So the management synchronization group part is basically looking for them and identifying them.
It sounds
I kind of feel
really boring.
Redundant. I feel that it's redundant.
Yeah.
Stick with the AOI.
Just AOI. AOI is perfect, but like they had to tack on this extra bit, which I gotta say, not a very good band name.
No, terrible band name. But okay, on to the important bit, and that is they just finished this report,
and
they tried to leave us all with the impression that this is nonsense.
Right.
And now they're starting a new report. Now they're starting a whole new group.
Yes.
To focus on the nonsense report.
Yeah, well, I don't know if the report was necessarily designed to lead us to believe this is nonsense. I think it was more designed to say it isn't us and it isn't aliens. And
right.
It's probably just other. I think what's going on here probably is that they want to look for they just want to keep a closer eye on the skies. They want to look for drones and stuff. And because there's all this alien stuff that was in the news, they're like, can we just kind of piggyback on that to get funding to do our thing?
That would make a lot of sense.
And so it's like they don't.
That's some smart government.
Right. They don't care about aliens. They care about, drones and stuff, but they're not above going but we're looking at things that are unidentified. It's like, yeah, until you identify them, at which point, which takes 30 seconds, and then you realize it's a rock.
Right. It's like the Patriot Act for the skies. They're basically
right, exactly. Right. So, it's a pretty weaselly maneuver sort of going on there. But
again, it's like you're the government. Shouldn't you already be doing that? I don't know. I'm a little weirded out by some of this stuff. I was thinking about people in privacy the other day. This is getting way off topic. I was thinking about people in privacy the other day and how everybody's just, I should be private and blah, blah, blah. And then we have police forces who basically from the day you're born, they're tracking you. And if you get in touch with them, they're building databases. Everybody's building databases off of you. So privacy is just the right to hide, or I don't know. Totally
I
weird.
don't, yeah, I don't know how much privacy we've got in the 21st century.
Yeah.
But
But I guess what I'm saying is if it's staring looking up, is it really a bad thing? Shouldn't we have already been doing all this? I don't know.
oh yeah, I mean, I don't actually take fault with anything they're doing. I think this is kind of a thing where it's like they're trying to appease the UFO guys, but also just trying to do the work they want to do anyway. So it's like, yeah, we're totally looking for aliens, but they're really not. They don't care about aliens.
They're just looking for terrorists.
So new studies reveal that being in space destroys red blood cells, causing anemia for reasons we don't understand. Furthermore, the effects appear to be long-lasting. In one test, astronauts who spent time in space were still losing their red blood cells at a 30% higher rate than normal, even after being back on Earth for a year. Considering the emergence on the horizon of space tourism, scientists warn that it may be unhealthy for people with a wide swath of pre-existing conditions to attempt even a short jaunt out of this world. Yeah.
Space might be even more deadly than we thought.
Right. It's like it didn't need to get worse,
Right.
really. Like it all, you had the gravity, you had the bone density loss thing, which is haunting.
Right.
You
gotta admit, some part of you romanticizes the idea of like going to space one day and not being able to go home and just have to float amongst the heavens for the rest of your life reading books.
Well, now I do.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it, but no, you're right.
Okay, I have. I'm just all like, yeah, I'd be free to be alone and float, you know.
Yeah, I think eventually they kick you off the ISS if you're not doing not a lot of space up there.
Yeah, totally. I'd be like who was the guy who got kicked out of the Brazilian embassy for letting his cats crap all over Assange?
Oh God, yeah,
Yeah.
just Julian
Assange
living up in the
right.
ISS.
Yeah.
It's like, Julian, stop letting your cats float around.
Yeah. And they had to take him out like with guys holding each of his limbs. Like, oh my God, that was. I mean, there might have been larger political ramifications to that people find to be very important, but I don't know what they are because that was just so funny. That's all I could think of.
I mean, there were, but you're right. That was amusing.
Well, that is a little depressing, and it's a little terrifying. I brought this up before when the kids were trapped in the Malaysian maybe tunnels. It was like a soccer team. Maybe it was Thailand. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Kids were trapped in some tunnels.
Yeah, there were some kids trapped in some tunnels, and they couldn't get them out. The water level was going up, and they couldn't get them out. And they're trying to figure out how to send a tube in there and bring them out with divers. One of the divers actually died trying to save these kids, and eventually they saved all the kids. So that's good. But
the story had a happy ending.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this guy wouldn't want to die in vain, you know. But I remember thinking at the time, our technology is not nearly as good as I thought it was.
Right.
We weren't able to just go into this mountain and get these kids out.
Yeah.
And it becomes a little terrifying that when they go out into space, there is something that is destroying your, bone density, I get it. Not using them.
Right. It's gravity.
But destroying your red blood cells, that's like science that I would have thought maybe we would have had to know what it is by now, but we don't.
Yeah, so it's a weird thing. What happens is you go into space and your fluid levels drop a lot for reasons that we do understand, but I forget what they were because it's very complicated. You get back on Earth, your fluid levels go back up, but your red blood cells don't. Your red blood cell level sort of stays constant and bad, which causes anemia.
Is it like the slow bends?
I don't know, but I imagine
they should call it that, though. It sounds good.
I imagine it's something we don't totally understand about, like how people work, just in general, and then we put people in space, and evolution is like, what are you doing? This is not where that monkey goes.
Right. That's a good band name. Just to bring it back around.
This is not where that monkey goes. Yeah, or at least an album name.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it for the news there.
Yeah, that's it for the news.
I gotta say, I'm like all stuffed up, and I think it's allergies. I hate this COVID situation, because every time anybody is sick around my house, we're all like, maybe we have COVID. Maybe this is happening. And I'm tired of asking myself, maybe.
Yeah.
It's been in the news that the government is telling you not to go get COVID on purpose, like you would with chicken pox. But I have to admit, it's crossed my mind just to rip the Band-Aid off. I've thought about going and just licking doorknobs and just getting this over with. You
can get COVID multiple times, though.
Yeah, but then I'll know. And now I'm not like part of the club. There was already so many clubs. This is probably
club.
not politically correct, but I gotta say, as a middle-aged white cisgender man, I am excluded from a lot of clubs. And now I don't even have COVID. It's very alone out here, Kara. This
is a weird set of emotional pressures, and I feel as though I'm not prepared to touch any of this.
Yeah. I don't have that education level, All right, I'm breaking down, man. All right. You're listening to Radio Wasteland. Come on back.
It's guarding the treasure. What's it?
All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. Hey, Kara, why don't you tell me a little something about some folklore?
I will. So your weird thing that people actually believed or believe for today is the Serbian Zduhac, or a dragon man in Bulgarian or Macedonian tradition, who was a type of person who could protect their town, village, or land from evil spirits that caused bad weather and, in some cases, disease, by sending forth their souls as they slept to fight with these demonic beings. Zduhac were born as such and were often marked by the appearance of a call during birth, although a regular person wishing to become a Zduhac could do so by praying to the devil.
By praying to the devil?
By praying to the devil. Yeah, it says, stop praying to God, go to a level patch of land somewhere, make a circle, pray to the devil, and the devil will be like, hey, do you want to join my army? And the correct answer to that, if you wish to become a Zduhac, is yes.
Okay, so during the whole first half of this,
it's wild, right?
Yeah, I was feeling like this was a positive thing. I'm just also so you get to sleep and then you just help people and you'd be all, yeah, during my sleep last night, totally saved you guys. Saved you guys from a lot of stuff, bring me some apples.
Kind of what it sounds like, yeah.
And then everybody's just all, hey, this is great. And all he had to do was go worship the devil in a field.
Right. So this is what I find wild about this piece of folklore, is that it's like, these were not pagan people. These were Christians. It's unclear when this started, but you're looking at people were believing this stuff in, the 1700s, the 1800s, and probably a few centuries before. But like I said, it gets murkier back then because you don't have the records. But so these were people who were not necessarily down with the devil. And yet it seems like the sort of caveat is, don't worship the devil unless you're going to use your devil powers to protect our crops from storms and frost.
I see. So it's like a very selfish justification.
I guess, yeah. Well,
I guess there is, I don't know,
because you're helping your village.
That, like, if a person is this, maybe they're beyond reproach. It's like, so they're beyond being evil, so they're actually able to use the devil as their own implement because they're so godly.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
I
but
just find it hard to believe. I mean, I'm totally down with like small towns that worship the devil that I'm never going to visit. But this is like too good to be true.
Yeah, well, you
like
would
on
think,
a fan of horror and stuff,
but this is actually like incredibly well attested in documents and in oral histories. Like this is something that is still sort of known in the region. So, and in the West, this is a myth that is basically unknown. Like, have you heard of the Stuhatch? I didn't. I didn't.
No,
I stumbled on it randomly.
They might say it in that Rammstein song. There's a lot of words that sound like it could be that.
Honestly, true. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, those Slavs.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Eastern Europeans, man. That is where all the cool stuff comes from.
It really is.
That's not fair.
I'm biased.
That's not fair. That's where a lot of the cool stuff comes from. Vampires, Eastern.
Right. I'm biased because they gave us vampires. So,
right.
Although I will say vampires also have a very like deep and going back just as far history in India. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But
speaking of which, I found a Malaysian horror movie where the lady vampire's head actually does detach from her body.
Yes.
With like the guts hanging down, and
amazing.
I'll have to look it up and send it back to you.
Yeah, I watched a movie like that a little while ago. It was, I think, from Thailand, and it was
the something of Bali. All right. Well, it doesn't.
I don't know. There's a jillion movies because they love that stuff.
Yeah,
there's
but
so many movies on that topic.
There's not a lot with the guts hanging from the floating head.
There are definitely some. Yeah.
Really? Maybe I need to get.
Oh yeah, in Southeast Asia, they're all bad.
Yeah.
The production values are quite low,
right.
But they do have them.
Well, to bring it back around, I gotta say this one is how do I say it again?
Stuhatch. So it's spelled Zduhac.
Stuhatch. Has a lot of horror movie potential.
It does.
Bus trip across Eastern Europe goes down.
Yeah.
Dreaming Satanists. I mean,
right. So if you're
it's
tired
all there.
of the rain, get out there and start praying to the devil.
Yeah, this stuff writes itself. It writes itself.
It does. Hey, Chauncey, you want a depressing history minute?
Well, kinda, I guess. Maybe. Yes.
Well, you don't have a choice. You're getting one.
Yes.
So with MLK Day coming up, I want to talk about COINTELPRO and the FBI's targeting of Martin Luther King Jr. So basically, during the Red Scare of the 1950s, there was an FBI program to surveil, arrest, and deport communists run by J. Edgar Hoover. Much of the activity of this program was illegal. In fact, decades later, it was estimated that only 8% of what they did was legal. But for various reasons, there was no oversight. And in the 60s, they mostly switched to surveilling and harassing civil rights leaders, mainly Martin Luther King Jr. They wiretapped him and threatened to reveal evidence of his affairs to his wife unless he committed suicide using threatening anonymous letters. They also infiltrated the Black Panther Party and did their best to spark factional disputes within the Nation of Islam. An FBI memo from 1969, in fact, took credit for Malcolm X's assassination. Who knows? At least 29 Black Panthers were known to be killed by COINTELPRO, as well as other civil rights leaders like Fred Hampton and Elijah Clark. They arrested hundreds of Black activists, many of them on trumped-up charges. And after Watergate, the Senate started to investigate abuses of power in the FBI and CIA and discovered all of this stuff. And many of the Their activities came to light, although the documents that were revealed remain heavily redacted to this day, so we still don't know the full scope of what they were doing. And in the end, the Justice Department never prosecuted anyone involved. This has been a depressing history minute.
Yeah. It is depressing, but here's my question. Now,
Yes.
inevitably, there was a lot of racism involved in this.
Oh, sure.
But was the overall motivation, was there a motivation of racism or rebellion that was a good justification for this? Because look at the world we're living in. Look at the world we're living in today.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a touchy comparison, but when it comes to squashing rebellion, is there's some okayness to this? It is depressing, but is it depressing? I mean, if it goes on today, would that be okay? I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, it's well known that, like, right now the government is surveilling any number of groups, Black Lives Matter on the left, but also certainly, like, all the people who were at the Capitol, for one thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I'm not talking about BLM. I'm not talking about BLM. Obviously, they're doing that if they were doing that, Right. I'm saying all these insurrectionists.
Yeah. To be fair, none of the people they were messing with ever got close to, like, attacking the Capitol.
Yeah. Might have been purely logistics, though.
Yeah, so a lot of this is sort of like, I mean, for one thing, it started with the Red Scare, right? So people were like, our entire government has been infiltrated by communists. We've got to get all the communists out of the country, blah, blah, blah. So, like, that was, that was sort of the justification by which this program started. And then, but a lot of it was kind of just J. Edgar Hoover's pet project.
Oh, hell yeah. Like, that guy was shady.
He wasn't great, no. And so he hated MLK and he hated the Black Panthers.
Now, did he hate blacks?
That probably, honestly, but with this, who knows? We can't interrogate the man. He's dead.
No, I'm just being like, was it known that he did? And don't get me wrong, I am in no way justifying any of this that went on. It was purely a conversation moving.
I get what you're going for, and certainly that's how they defended it. They defended it by saying, these were groups that were dangerous to dangerous to our ability to maintain a functioning society. And it's like, okay, which, like, I don't buy that justification, but, like, that's what they were saying.
Right. Especially when that's what caused people to feel that way was basically the oppression of society and the government, so. Right.
I mean, they were trying to unravel the fabric of society, because the fabric of this society at the time included, Jim Crow.
Right.
So, like, it was a good thing to unravel that. But these guys were like, no, we have to have stability no matter what, kind of thing.
Well, you can't really talk about depressing parts of history without at least bringing up the question. I don't expect you to have the answer. I won't either. But the question is, how do we make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Honestly, I'll bet it's still happening.
Well, it happens less. Let's say less.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for one thing, you got to actually, like, have oversight on these agencies, which, I don't know. I think that has actually improved a little since Watergate, but then again, you've also got, the war on terror type of stuff, and just giving a lot of broad powers back to law enforcement agencies to kind of do whatever. So I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, I'm back and forth on this, because I think we've touched on this before, but maybe man needs to be controlled. Obviously we're willing to, like, blow ourselves up at any turn, at any opportunity. Maybe we need But unfortunately, if the answer is yes, man needs to be controlled, it can't be by another man because,
Right.
Obviously man needs to be controlled. That guy can't do it.
So you're more in the angelic god king kind of category.
Well, I'm
A
saying
higher
that,
being to come down to earth and sort of
well, maybe
shepherd us.
regardless of how you believe in religion, let's say you don't believe in any religion at all, maybe it's a necessary stepping stone to not destroying yourself in a culture.
Yeah. Well, Thomas Hobbes would agree with you.
Woody, I don't know. I don't read anything that doesn't have laser beams. Were there laser beams in Thomas Hobbes?
No, but his thing was called the Leviathan.
No, all right, that's good. That's good.
It wasn't about a sea monster, though. The Leviathan was the concept of government.
Oh,
yeah. So disappointing, but I just brought that up to flex my nerdiness.
Right. There's a whole lot of nerds out there currently swooning, going, "Oh, she said it. I can't believe."
Yeah. She remembered something from European history in high school.
Well, I'm really just here to make you look smart.
Thank you. I do appreciate it.
All right. You've been listening to Radio Wasteland. Join us next time.
It's guarding the treasure.
What's it? That's it!
You can't get away from it. It from the pit. There's no escape. It from the pit. The game's It from the Pit. First one to the treasure wins, but watch out for it.
Whoa!
You can't get away, there ain't no way. You can't get away from it from the pit.
I win!
Play it.